Smith & Wesson Model 29 was first introduced in 1955. It was the most powerful handgun at the time of its introduction. The revolver was made famous by the Dirty Harry movies, which effectively advertised the gun to the public in the 1970s. The gun could be sold for 2 to 3 times the list price, but the heavy recoil makes the revolver difficult to shoot and lead to the appearance of the gun in the second-hand market in large quantities. The paper model I made is a Model 500, a successor of the Model 29. Although it uses an even more powerful .500 cartridge and has only 5 chambers, the firing mechanism I will be showing is essentially the same as the Model 29. When you pull the trigger, there are 3 parts of the mechanism that react immediately: the cylinder stop, the hand, and the rebound slide. The front tip of the trigger pushes the cylinder stop downward, releasing the cylinder so it is now free to rotate. The hand at the back end of the trigger is moving upward, ready to spin the cylinder. Now take a look at the rebound slide. The rebound slide is pushed backward by the trigger lever. The spring in the rebound slide is then compressed and stored with energy to push the trigger in the opposite direction. In the second half of the trigger pulling mechanism, the hammer and the cylinder join the action. Ideally, the cylinder should rotate and get stopped by the cylinder stop, lining up the next chamber with the barrel before the hammer is released. In this model I made, the hammer strikes too early. Now we zoom in and take a look at the cylinder stop. When the cylinder starts rotating, the front point of the trigger has gone past the mouth of the cylinder stop, so the spring is able to push the cylinder stop counterclockwise, where it is looking for the next notch on the cylinder to fit in and stop the rotation. Now let's look at how hammer works. The back end of the trigger goes up and pushes the sear, rotating the hammer. The mainspring is being bent due to the rotation of the hammer, which stores energy for the strike. When the trigger is pulled to the very back, the tip point of the trigger and the sear miss each other, releasing hammer to strike forward. Now you have fired the gun, but not so fast. The trigger needs to go back to its original position. To do that, there are 2 things it needs to pass through. The first one would be the sear. The sear is designed with a sear spring that constantly pushes the sear forward. When the trigger tries to pass, the sear retreats a little bit and gives room for it. After the trigger passes, the sear is pushed back by the spring, ready for the next firing action. The second part that needs to give way to the trigger is the cylinder stop. Its hole for its rotation pin is not designed like any others. The shape of the hole allows the cylinder stop to move forward and backward. When the trigger tries to pass through, instead of rotating, the cylinder stop gives way by moving forward. This design keeps the cylinder locked in place, because the cylinder stop doesn't come out of the notch the whole time. Finally, let's take a look at the whole firing action. As well as the reloading process.